Cool. Awesome. Hello and welcome to another edition of Gamespace, your weekly online destination where the Web3 gaming world comes alive. Each week, we bring together the brightest minds, builders, and innovative creators from the blockchain gaming sector. We explore the latest trends, share cutting-edge ideas, and connect with a vibrant community dedicated to redefining the future of gaming. Join us every week at Gamespace and be at the forefront of the gaming revolution. So this week, we've got Meta Mike joining us, but our guest of honor, we've got Keith or BeskARx joining us as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome.
So, I mean, BeskARx, we've known each other for a long time, and we've kind of played in different areas, but can you give a bit of an intro for those who haven't seen your name about or aren't familiar with your background? Just a brief introduction to, I guess, this landscape as a whole, how you intersect with it, and also kind of your work-related background and how that's been. How you've brought Web3 to life in, I guess, the advertising world.
Yeah, great. Short, right? It's a joke because been in this space, innovation space for quite a long time. I'm 20 years in digital media and advertising, and I've always kind of moved my career a little bit ahead of where technology was going. I lead innovation here in the US for a team called PMCI, Publicis Media Content and Innovation. If you're not familiar with Pulicis, we're one of the largest holding company of advertising, media, marketing, creative and technology agencies in the world. Probably know a handful of the agency brands in your area, in your country. Here in the US, very specifically, I've been here coming up on 17 years. And for years led our digital content and media production studio, where we created every kind of advertising banner ad under the sun. But with a high degree of creativity and innovation in that space. But really, my career transformed right about coming up on 10 years ago, which is kind of wild, where we launched the very first brand experience on the original Oculus DK1. This was the Volvo XC90 auto show experience, and that just like opened up the third eye for me in terms of immersive content, immersive experiences, and spent the past 10 years really working in this space. I thought that was going to be the future of my career here, and where I was steering the teams inside of the Pulicis agencies I worked with up until 2020, where after having invested in crypto and experimenting in that space a bit, my best friend in the world started collecting CryptoPunks. And so that was CryptoPunks, and that CryptoPunks community is really my indoctrination or baptism or what master's degree in NFTs, decentralized technologies, tokens, smart contracts, all the underpinnings and infrastructure technology going into Web3. And the CryptoPunks opened my mind again to this, to Web3 technologies unlocking really just transformative brand experiences, but really, to me, the metaverse. The metaverse needed Web3, and Web3 needed the metaverse, and it was just this awesome synergy of technology and opportunity. So I'm leading our Web3 Center of Excellence here at Pulicis in the US, and we're building technologies and capabilities, and have launched some pretty incredible campaigns with the folks on my team and the agencies all around the world. So we're very bullish on really where technology is going broadly. We don't focus on one thing or the other thing. We like to push the envelope, stay on the leading edge of what brands are looking to push out into their consumers. And I'm thrilled to have this conversation with you all and see where we're going in gaming. What an awesome opportunity for transformation here too.
100%. And I mean, really, this space is supposed to be about bringing together people that are like-minded, working towards the same goal of building the open metaverse in whatever way we can all contribute to it. But I'm really curious in terms of, you mentioned your best friend in the world started collecting crypto punks. How did that conversation come up? As just like an outsider, was there exposure to this collection prior, and like, oh, we should buy into this, or was it just something out of the blue where you're like, what are you talking about?
Well, the person we're talking about right now is someone you may know if you follow the CryptoPunk space, Crypto Novo. Novo and I go back to being little kids, and when we grew up, we collected comic books and cards, and that never left our top of mind. And then it was pretty obvious that the provenance and the innovation that CryptoPunks brought to the NFT space in terms of that digital identity, that art and really innovative art that they brought with this generative AI capability, these generative AI algorithms that created the CryptoPunks. What incredible innovation there! So just in collecting provenance first, the first appearance of Wolverine is really valuable, right? And we just could see how that would be applied to digital art and CryptoPunks. And so Crypto Novo having jumped in early 2020, brought me in late 2020, and where we kind of forged our CryptoPunk identities of Crypto Novo and BeskARx, and tagged our CryptoPunks along with those. And that was really where we started learning, and just really, like me, like everybody else at that time, we were totally undercover, anons, degens. I wasn't necessarily exposing to this world that I worked in this space, because I didn't care that anyone knew that. I just wanted to learn what was going on and learn what like communities were, and why token based communities were really transformational and global. And we just we started really trying to figure out where we could make our own space inside the CryptoPunks community. And so the first thing we figured was NFTs and art and the metaverse and immersive content. This is a visual medium, and a lot of the conversation was happening on Clubhouse at that time. Hey, why don't we make this visual? And so our kind of biggest idea at the time was to host what I think is one of the first, if not the first, Twitch streams around NFTs. So a podcast format just like this, where we could actually bring artists on, share their art visually, connect with people around the world through Twitch. And I brought in a good friend of mine who previous to him buying a CryptoPunk spotty Wi-Fi to host that show with us. So we were live buying CryptoPunks on Twitch. We helped Pranksy do the $1 million CryptoPunk draw. That was all broadcast live on our channel, where we gave out Mark Cuban's CryptoPunk live on air. I mean, these are the wild things going on in early 2021 in this space, and really we just wanted to showcase artists like and innovators in the space like G Money and Justin Aversano and Tony Herrera, and give them a platform, give CryptoPunks a platform to share their passions with the world. That the innovation, I think maybe a little bit of the legacy coming out of that NFT stories was where we innovated in terms of digital identity. We created Crypto Novo's CryptoPunk avatar AR filter, so he could broadcast as his punk, stay anon. Created that for G Money, so he could do the same thing and go out and bring CryptoPunks to the world without doxing or releasing his identity. And we just kind of really try to proliferate this, bringing Web3 and bringing NFTs to the world through communications and through platforms like this. And it was an awesome time. And then that's when brands started really leaning in.
So and I mean, you were such an early adopter, but you know, who was starting to talk to you on the work side of things from a brand perspective about this arena first? Was it you kind of approaching people, or were they like, hey, you know, we heard about this crazy sale of, you know, people at work? How did that play out?
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, we were bringing these concepts and these technologies to brands, and I've got awesome people I work with here, who are also totally native to the space. That really looked to push the envelope, and we had done the first Campbell's NFT drop, which was the first brand partnership with an artist. Then we did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day drop, which is the first 10K project, generative art project from a brand in that way, and then which we also at the time, had to make that accessible. And so, again, I'm going to track this history as closely as possible here, but I believe we're the first brand to let you claim NFTs with just an email address through the Suite platform, and that accessibility factor was really the innovation we were driving there. And now that's fairly commonplace. That's certainly core to what we do in terms of accessibility and melting away the tech in this space. Make it easy, make it seamless, make it frictionless, and bake that technology on the back end, and which is what I love too about the open metaverse, right? And I think that's really where we're pushing into next. Shouldn't feel like you're logging on to the most challenging system you ever got, where there's all these gates to keep you out, as opposed to let's make it frictionless to get you in. And that's always been our North Star here.
100%. And I mean, obviously, so go ahead if you.
No, I was just going to say the accessibility side and account abstraction is going to be huge. And when that's kind of nailed, then I think that's when we'll really see this mass adoption, right? Because to 99% of people out there, whether it runs on a blockchain or not, it's this product that I'm used to using, this legacy kind of Web2 social media platform, we'll call it. I'm used to logging in with an email address and password. Like now there's this new system and it's completely different. Like not only do you have to have something that is kind of open and I guess better, like gives them more chances for communication, but also needs to be something that people are comfortable logging into. They don't have to relearn that entire process.
And I mean, obviously, that's a very important thing for brands. But on the other side of things, brands also want to be innovators and trying to, deal with early technology and, be a first mover, but maybe in a category that's not for the masses. Maybe that they want to kind of stand out as, players dealing with complex technology and kind of, be pioneers, like true pioneers. Have you ever worked with any brands that have really wanted to try to do something that pushes the boundary of this technology, even in the early days?
Yeah, I mean, 2021 was a year of a lot of learning, a lot of testing out this entire space, and as we came up to the end of 2021, we had another kind of lightning strike moment where Facebook rebranded themselves as Meta, right? And some of these moves tend to be a catalyst for brands to like divert their attention over to like what's new and what's going on here, and what do we have to understand about this major impact from a large global technology provider? What does that mean? Where is this going? And so, that we spent a lot of time educating folks, brands and brand marketers, on this is the metaverse. This is what it means today. This is what it's going to mean in the future. That's an important distinction because, some folks just wanted to leap ahead in the future. That wasn't ready and available to us. And when we were working with a brand like Samsung on showcasing their innovation at CES, and they said, "Hey, can we bring this experience to the metaverse?" It wasn't about being in the metaverse; it was about bringing the CES experience and that and building an immersive experience around learning about the brand's innovative technology, as opposed to like, here's Samsung in the metaverse, and you could go buy a phone inside the building. That was never the intention. Of course, that was on the roadmap to where they wanted to get to. But first, they just want to understand like what kind of community can we tap into in this space? What kind of community do we even have that are passionate fans of the brand that would want to engage with us in these immersive spaces? And so we launched 837X first in Decentraland, as I think one of the largest global brand experiences, maybe still to date, on that platform. And that was because Decentraland had an incredible community. But daily active users were growing, and what you could do there, the brand could own, and not necessarily, I guess, build on someone else's platform. So it just made a lot of sense when we were figuring out the first place to launch 837X was going to be in Decentraland. Of course, then we brought it to Roblox, and we brought it to Fortnite, and we brought it to multiverse experiences, but really with the same intention and goal and of building that community.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I remember the early days 2021, but logging in there and seeing that experience, and just really getting a glimpse into maybe not what it is now, but what a model could look like. And I think it's good when, for me personally, seeing brands not just try to take the copy and paste approach of, okay, someone's done this, so we're going to replicate it and tweak this and tweak this and tweak this. They, you guys really built out something that was trying to test and push the limits of this brand new ecosystem of ownership, of decentralized virtual worlds, of the social aspect as well. And so I just want to give you kind of credit to that. Obviously, the attention has kind of been drawn away from the Web3 virtual worlds like Decentraland and Sandbox recently, but it was a really good brand approach for and execution for the time, and I think is going to likely be a model that is copy and pasted however many years down the track, when this interest in these type of land ownership picks up again. So yeah, just a little compliment, because
well, look, tie it back to gaming here, right? Which is the topic of the day. What we observed at the time was there was a whole lot of brand museums going up, as I would lovingly call them. You could walk around, you could look at things. Maybe there was some interactive moments, but they weren't gamified, and there was no kind of motivating behavior behind participating, behind engaging, beyond coming back. And really, to me, like, do you take the best of the gaming world, which has this flywheel of engagement and really like awesome incentive structure to keep you coming, playing, coming back, making sure you're there for your community when they show up, and that's what we built the foundations of it on. And I love to see that now, like, growing and proliferating as a brand strategy too. Just gaming has this licked, has it nailed, and if we're gonna copy and paste anything, it's what's working, right, in terms of driving that engagement, and then iterate, innovate on top of that. But
yeah,
let's stick with the foundations that are working.
Right. And I mean, it's interesting because I'm assuming you're talking with clients that are from a marketing background, or potentially an innovation background, but not necessarily a gaming background. So as the attention shifted to Roblox, Fortnite, you need to have an understanding of game development to really understand what's going on slightly on the back end. I feel like for marketers, when they're doing media campaigns or experiential campaigns, like, there's a solid foundational set of knowledge where they can understand how this all works. With gaming, I feel it could be a lot more elusive. So, when you're talking to clients, who are you typically dealing with if around these gamified experiences?
Yeah, education has proliferated a lot into brand marketers. It's not just innovation teams we're talking about in terms of gaming. You look at some of these major impact moments in gaming, like Travis Scott in Fortnite. That even though that's not very recent, it's still called out as a total transformational moment in gaming where they had a bigger audience than the Super Bowl. How could you not pay attention to that as a brand marketer, right? That's a major impact moment. And then it kept getting reinforced as these big moments happen in gaming and they impacted culture, right? And so I think as gaming now kind of moves center stage in culture, more brand marketers are highly aware of that, uh, and they're saying, "Hey, how do we start? How do we? What's our place here?" And the real shift is from the endemic brands and the non-endemic brands. I mean, you had like Doritos and Mountain Dew who were world class in this space, but that's endemic to gamers, and I give them a ton of credit for pioneering in this space. But now you've got brands who are like, hey, we can find our place in gaming in a native way that's not taking you out of the game. That's actually powering your game. That's the cool stuff, and that's what I hope marketers open up their eyes to. Is you know let's reward you for participation. And you can do that in a way that is totally attributable in gaming, which is incredible. And then it's just fun. Who doesn't love that?
Right, and sorry, I was stuck on mute there, but I mean, it's such a fine line to balance. Like, I think there's, whether it's Web3 or tokenized assets or gaming, there is a fine balance between doing something that can be relatable to gamers and doesn't stick out as a slap my brand on this experience. And I feel like that would take both a lot of education, but also a lot of crafting of the experience and a lot of feedback from communities as to how to approach this without being cringe. How do you kind of navigate those conversations?
I mean, you got to be a user and a community member, and you got to be native, or you got to have folks that are advising that are actually in this space and don't just read about it, right? That are playing the games, dominating Fortnite tournaments, that are connecting with creators or following passionate fans of creators. I kind of liken it to the social media age, where you wouldn't hire people to run your social media strategy who like weren't on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., and weren't really excelling at that. And those people who really got the medium and recognized the power of how you could communicate and build an audience and build a community there. Well, they lifted that up and brought that into brand strategy, and some incredible brand strategy, classic advertising, the social media age, that I think we'll look back on with honor them, no doubt, even if it were 6-second ads at the time, right? But now you look in gaming, okay, you're going to have those natives, the people who know this so inherently and down to their bones. They're passionate. They want nothing more in the world than to like connect brands with their passion of gaming. That you got to have them, or you're missing a whole lot. You're just reading and parroting
Right,
some
right.
smart strategies.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and we've seen it. I'm not going to call any brands out, but we've definitely seen it where, as you say, that it's just someone's been like, oh, you should do Web3. Okay, let's do some Web3, and like people just don't really understand like the particular community aspect of it and how you need to rally these people around. We have a question from LinkedIn, Diana Kanyas. Do you think that digital fashion will play an important role for brands and video games?
Well, I think this is already playing out, that it has an important role for brands and video games. And shout out to the team here at Pulicis who cut that partnership with Balenciaga and Fortnite years ago, and really like opened people's eyes to what does it mean to have like high-end luxury fashion inside of gaming ecosystems. Holy cow, you could bring gaming and high-end fashion together. Like no one really like had opened their eyes to that. You know, a huge domino effect on the back of that, where it's like, okay, how do we move into this space? Digital fashion in gaming is all about identity and self-expression. And you know, if you're a fan, whether you're a fan of the brand, you're a fan of the game, you know, you're gonna express yourself creatively inside of the game, which is what we're so excited for proliferation of Web3. That really highly customizable, personalized inventory loadout you can bring in nearly any game. But for now, you're taking what's available to you inside of these game worlds and trying to build your digital expression of your identity. This is what, you know, fashion brands know this, right? How their fashion really makes you feel, what that like intrinsic extrinsic value is, and you just bring that into the game worlds. And as soon as we start getting into some scarcity and rarity, that is really gonna take off. Where you're like, I'm the only one in this world who can rock this suit, right? And check that out. And what digital doors does that unlock for me? I'm really excited to see that grow.
100%. And I mean, it's a really good question. Bid had to drop, so that's all good. It's just us now. But we've seen this even with, I know it's not digital fashion, but like even in non-Web3 worlds, like Counter-Strike, and skins for weapons, and the rarity there, and the value, even though
PUBG, holy cow,
exactly, 100%. So, and I mean, I definitely want to get into the more of the tokenized asset discussion in a bit, and talking about the exclusivity and rarity and things like that. But just while we're on the topic of the virtual worlds that people are talking about mostly at the moment, which I would assume to be Roblox and Fortnite that you're having discussions with brands about, is that kind of the vast majority of these gamified experiences that brands are looking to build on?
Yeah, and then I'd put the third one at what we call bespoke, right, where you're building your own game world on your own platform. That there's the increased interest in owning the solution too. But
really,
yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, Roblox and Fortnite in terms of the millions of daily active users in there. And in this like bullseye audience target of 18 to 24, 18 to 36.
the unattainables.
You're moving where the people are,
yeah,
and where the players are now.
Yeah. Sure. So I mean, you mentioned bespoke builds. Can you share any examples of brands that have been working through that, or release experiences, and how they think about that type of activation in comparison to going where the numbers are?
Yeah, I mean, I'll shout out Macy's and that whole brand. They launched M Style Lab last year, and M Style Lab is not it's not a Fortnite game, and it probably wouldn't necessarily belong to Roblox, but maybe that's not for me to decide. But it's a gamified fashion universe, right? And that's just a completely different approach to maybe what you're gonna do showing up in something like Fortnite, right? You're actually exploring your fashion journey there. You're personalizing your own digital items, and I'm excited to see where that whole platform goes, and maybe brings more brands into that space. It's a different mindset, right, than sort of the competitiveness, or maybe even the social nature of the platforms like Fortnite and Roblox. But then you've got essentially unlockable commerce, or in-world commerce enabled in there, where Fortnite and Roblox are restricting that in certain ways in how you can actually unlock commerce for brands. So when you have that sort of third category, something bespoke, you make your own rules. You build your own commerce solutions in that space. And if you can make it compelling and engaging enough, I think people will come play and come back.
Yeah, 100%. But it's a very heavy lift to build something that is bespoke, that is owned, that has the opportunity to, have boundless limits to what can be captured from both an audience perspective, or sometimes lack of audience perspective, and a revenue perspective. So how you typically evaluating the trade-off of whether it's worthwhile to go to the audience because we know it's there, and we can attract a native group of users and bring them in, versus having to just like rely on a campaign to drive the entire success of something that takes a lot of time and money to invest in.
Yeah, I mean, sort of the edges are moving in a little closer on both of those sides. The barrier to entry to get into this space in terms of what it takes for creative production and development that's coming down. Generative AI is powering this like rapid creation of immersive worlds. Can't wait to see how that actually makes this whole space a lot more accessible. And if you can make it more accessible and lower barrier to entry, then you can find out some different levels of fidelity of where you want to maybe launch these immersive worlds. I also think just as much as something bespoke, now we're going to see some of these, Web3 or on-chain worlds where you could build your own presence with really easy toolkits, right? A lot like you're doing in Fortnite and Roblox. And one I absolutely love, and I've been playing it a lot, is Nifty Island. How cool is that platform? And
yeah, we actually had Charles from Nifty on last week as our guest. Yeah, it's I mean, I constantly go back to it as being like, this is the conglomeration of a lot of the concepts that we've been hoping to see. A lot of Web3 virtual worlds had the economy down, they had the 3D side down to some extent, but that true ease of gaming, repeat gameplay, getting users coming back for Bloom, being able to use whatever avatar they want, being able to build whatever world they want with relative ease. It's just kind of like a key moment, I think, in the Web3 gaming space, and how in manifesting and building out what we've been working towards.
And what I love about it too is, and I was tweeting about, what do we say? Xing about this? Come on. I was posting about this, and I posted it out to my network, and the question was, what do you think about the metaverse when experiences become more ephemeral, right? And how does that kind of transform your idea of what the metaverse is in metaverse gaming? And then if we're gonna now connect the dots back to Nifty Island, right? Now you've got something like that where it's so easy to create. I mean, this if you're gonna put it at the top, right? Easy to create, easy to make it fun. Those, yes, you can spend hours and hours and days and weeks on a single build because you want that scale, but it's just as easy to take it down to the ephemeral space and say, I built this custom world just for a Friday night event with the community, right? And I built these custom games. And so even having this like rapid iteration and easy to spin up gaming in Web3 worlds like Nifty Island, I love that just as much as the like long, extended, developed, and built out deep worlds as well. Like, we think about right now, meme coins, right? Meme coins are like super hot, and you can just like they're great for like drawing attention in the Web3 space, in building a little like ephemeral community. Everybody rallies against these meme coins. When we take that sort of mentality and bring it into the metaverse and Web3 gaming, it's going to feel the same way, and especially if it's play to earn, right? Get into this place. I got this set up, customized for a Friday night. I got a partnership. I got a DJ. it looks like this. That world might not exist for much longer than that, but you had an impact on that community, or you grew your community through that really cool, like, ephemeral event.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I think, 4 times the word that I wanted to kind of transition to, and that's community. How do brands think about community? Let's take, if you're a large multinational company that's testing the boundaries of what can be done with these technologies. I'm not going to say Samsung, but I'm going to use Samsung as an example. They built early and they had these tokenized assets, and then you're saying built in Roblox and Fortnite. How do you maintain persistence in a community, and how do you do that at a global scale?
Yeah, you hit on one of the most challenging things for brands in terms of how to execute, but also how to think about it and what it effectively replaces today. Because if you're, every brand can do everything. We know that you got to prioritize, and you got to make decisions. And we're moving from this idea of like CRM, one to many, into like community, right? And what does that mean for you as a brand? And I think Starbucks probably is one of the best examples of this, with their Odyssey program, where they built a community, and it wasn't about people who like Starbucks. It's about people who love Starbucks and are obsessed with the coffee, and really want to connect with people who also love it, and who also love, they found just like what are the passions that people can lean into with Starbucks. It was about the coffee experience. It was about art. It was about sharing and learning. And you got to love that, right? Like, that's not transactional at the register. That's actually, hits at your true passions in life. To me right now, that's what Web3 is for. And then when you can take that into the game world, and you can surround that, or like create experiences based on those passions, or like extend that into the game world and create social moments around that you can drive this earned community into. I'm really interested to see where that goes over the next couple of years, and which brands lean into that as a new way of building their consumer base.
And I mean, from what you've seen, what's the typical I guess communication channel that's being used to take a community and funnel them to these different experiences, worlds, games, offline events?
Yeah, there's no silver bullet.
Yeah,
That's for sure. It's not. You can use things like Discord. You can use email, and email actually works. And you can see how like engagement rates on email for communities are much different than what you actually get out of just like an email blast to everybody who you've ever collected an email address from. That's actually really different. But what what I'm looking forward to, and I hope really this trend sticks, and brands start to adopt it, is decentralized social experiences, where things like Farcaster, which is decentralized social network right now. As a brand, you can build up that entire community, and that's portable then, because you're always connected through the protocol and the token, as opposed to, am I checking my email or not? And then you can extend that out anywhere you need to, right? Right now you can go join a bunch of awesome communities on Warpcast, and that front end experience is really great and growing. But that doesn't have to only ever exist in Warpcast. That can be in a lot more places. That could be on your own channels, where you just utilize the technology and build your own, closed community or token gated community. And to me, like, social media and that like need for connection isn't going away, but where we can break beyond the platforms with their kind of some of the limiting factors that make it a challenge to build a community there for a brand and own it. This is where Web3 comes in, right, and is really transformational.
100%. And I think the you mentioned that both the email and the Web3 side of things, we've obviously seen a lot of different cycles between 2020 and maybe 2019 and now, where maybe with the original MetaQuest coming out, there was kind of a VR moment, and then Web3 came out, there was a Web3 moment, an NFT moment, and then there was the metaverse moment, and then there was the AI moment, and now we're in the spatial computing moment. Yet this is all very cyclical, because we're really kind of, with the spatial computing moment, we're kind of now back at that VR moment. And I think, you probably agree that a lot of brands want to move into each of these different things, because maybe a CMO or someone high up sees this is where the future will be. And so marketers would be like, we've been tasked with going into the future, let's go. But really all of these concepts tie into this broader picture. How do you work with clients to help them understand where the larger picture is leading? And I guess, how do they respond to that? Is it something where they want to be invested in a long-term game plan where all of these different activations come together? Or is it more, let's test and learn in each of these parts and get kind of like dip our feet in and try to understand what's going on in each of these places without committing to an overarching strategy? And I'm sure it's a mix of both, but yeah.
It's a mix of both. Look, I think there's a couple unlocks right now that are going to drive us sort of into the next wave of adoption. It's a signal that Apple moves into the space. It's not necessarily like the sales numbers aren't the signal, that the launch is the signal, right? And an indication that, it's highly unlikely they're only ever going to build one iteration of that device. And everyone kind of like understands that, and that's their history. So then that's just like a mental unlock for marketers that says, okay, if Apple's kind of given us permission in this space, and we should feel secure that, brands have invested in their platforms before and absolutely grown, right? And so you should feel good about that as a marketer. And whether you're like leaning into Vision Pro, or you just see that as like the kind of primitive, or the signal you need to start investing and testing and learning in this space, that's number one. But the other thing that is becoming, that I think again is like a catalyst for an adoption cycle here, is the death of the cookie. And the death of the cookie means we got to really look, and for the folks on the call, what this means is essentially, Google at large is going to deprecate some of these signals that marketers rely on to retarget their audience, right? That's all going away. When that goes away, having what I think you'll understand is having a community of your most passionate fans is going to be a total unlock. So you're going to start with the need for a community because of the deprecation of the cookie. Then you're going to say, well, if we've got a community, how do we sort of rank and sort and identify who inside of that community is really important to us as a brand? Now you're layering in gamification, right, to that community. Quests, journeys, unlocks, leaderboards, and really self-sorting kind of in there. Who's a active community member, who's an engager, who's what would be something like an airdrop farmer. Once kind of gamification into loyalty really starts to scale, now you know this. What do you need in that program? Utility, right? You need incredible experiences, and then keep people engaged. And that, to me, now once you've got that, now you're gamifying time to mint your avatar, time to claim those wearables, meet us in Fortnite, meet us in Roblox, and you're gamifying all that engagement. Join us in Roblox every day this week and unlock something, right? These like kind of game loops and gamification strategies, I think, are what are really going to like unlock a lot of this engagement for brands. They're going to realize that their next evolution of their loyalty program can't just be at the register. That's an unlock for this next cycle. So if we're going to like roadmap this out for brands who say we want to slow walk into it, we say start with building a community and enable loyalty driven behavior down through that with gamification, and then see what happens beyond that.
And I mean, I guess going back to my previous point, that's a monumental shift in the way of thinking about marketing for marketers. I think people like us who are native to the space, yeah, of course, that makes sense. That's the approach. That's where we're going. But for traditional marketers that have never set up a MetaMask or don't know what Bitcoin is, it's a very different way of thinking. So I mean, if we're talking about that roadmap being the norm, how long do you kind of expect that to be until we reach that point?
Well, and respectfully, I think we're conflating two different types of internet users with how brands are going to engage. And I'll just like, I'll throw that out there. There is the majority of the world that absolutely loves the subsidized internet, the advertising subsidized internet. And then there's, folks like us, folks like in the Web3 community that want to explore or on a spectrum of want to explore to fully passionate about custodying their own assets, about owning everything that's digital themselves. And so I think that spectrum is will grow from the bottoms up on people who understand like why decentralized technologies and custodying their own assets and holding everything themselves, why that's important. But that's not a requirement for brand scaling in this space,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like you want to lean into them. They're probably going to be some of the most passionate people that participate in these ecosystems because they get it. But also, we've got the other side, which is like really enjoys the free and subsidized internet, right, by advertising.
But when that model fails, what happens? Like, do they shift across, or do they try to rinse the old model until it's just absolutely not possible anymore?
I think the well, if we're looking at the quote unquote old model, that old model continues to evolve, right? And so we probably stay on the track, but evolve the technology. That's my prediction. And moving from something like a cookie to a decentralized advertising signal that you actually want to collect or want to like opt into as a fan of the brand.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm thrilled for that, because then you could take that token anywhere, take it into these Web3 game worlds, take it into IRL experiences, and share your data. Are you
referring to something like, right? Are you referring to something like Brave's basic attention token, or a different model where it's actually brand owned?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's brand owned, right? And you look at the tokens that brands have dropped, right? That essentially now you have that in your wallet. That unlocks some future experience. I mean, this is like the Web3, kind of like the inherent Web3 ethos, which is access and utility driven by a token. Whether that, to me, yes, I think that's going to be brand tokens in that way, or a tokenized ecosystem in that way. That's what I think. Again, we're not abandoning what we've done. We're just evolving it with new technology. That's what I'm hopeful for.
100%. And one thing that we haven't talked about today, and knowing that we only have a short time left, is creators. It's what's kind of the base layer of all of this technology, and the beauty of the space. We get into it. We got into it because we like the technology, but also we both really like to we like the creativity that comes out of the space. And so when brands are looking at all of these different technologies, what's the lens that they think about creativity from? Are they wanting to work with creators in these spaces? Are they wanting to, or are they wanting to do things themselves and try put their own tweak on it? I guess what I'm getting at is the sourcing coming from the community, or is it kind of being sourced from internal teams?
Yeah, I think it's a hybrid of both, and here's why. You know, on one end of the spectrum, if you're a brand and you say it's our vision for this world, and you come into this world we've envisioned and built and architected, um, that's great. That probably connects with some, but that doesn't necessarily connect with everyone, right? Who comes in there and they say, "Well, this is your vision for what you think I should be participating in." When you've got a creator and it's their vision, or they're contributing or creating experiences inside of this larger world, then you can connect with their audiences and you can drive them in because this creator's made something so incredible, and then it's their vision of what this brand world or brand experience would be. People tend to spark more toward the creator vision versus like the authentic brand vision, right? Which is
Right.
it's a little corporate overlordy in that way, right? But when you kind of find the happy medium in the middle, where you say this is what our brand experience looks like in an immersive world or in a virtual world, and like what the rules of the road are, and what can be created inside of there, and what we want to inspire you to create, and then you lay out this awesome toolkit of brand IP and game primitives and social capabilities, and that you let the creators kind of play inside of that ecosystem. That's a real that feels like it could be really powerful, that you can connect both what consumers want and what they're passionate about, but then you keep the guardrails around kind of the brand inside of that space. To me, that's and then maybe inject a little bit of AI into that so it's accessible from a creator standpoint. That feels like a real special virtual world that I'd want to go check out.
Right, 100%. I think like I'm kind of just thinking through this as we speak, but like the influencer type model of brands partnering with influencers, I feel like brands need to start thinking in these spaces like the creators are the influencers. They're the ones making the avatars, they're the ones making the worlds, they're the ones gamifying these experiences. So I really would love to see more brands kind of partner directly with these creators to kind of just do influencer marketing, but through 3D spaces. I'm really looking forward to that because I think it's coming. It's just a matter of time. And
I think on that point too, this is again where tokens come in and play an important role in who are the creators that are effectively tokenized and verified to create with your brand IP, right? This is something that, again, when we're talking about things that maybe haven't necessarily happened yet in this space that we're looking forward to, tokenizing your creators and your influencers, and then allowing them to create in a more seamless and frictionless way, as opposed to like this real iterative way where they're pitching ideas to brands and those go through cycles of approval until they actually end up in the consumer standpoint. I think tokens can build that and effectively like what you've earned against that token, what provenance you've proven you're a responsible creator, can stay inside the IP and the bounds, and you hold that token through this Web3 technologies. That should just allow you to create for the brand. And that's when you talk about things that might make marketers' heads spin a little bit. That's going to be something that I think, giving away some of that control, but then having sort of that authentication and provenance through the token. I'm excited to see
Yeah. So, I
Get
mean,
there.
on the note of being excited to see, what in the next couple of years are you really looking forward to seeing brands test out? We've got all these new technologies. Obviously, there's a huge kind of rush to adopt the all different AI use cases, gaming world use cases. But outside of what's being done now, what are you really looking forward to seeing brands test out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to brands committing to effectively 3D. Uh, and so, we've had brands that ask us, should we get into Apple Vision Pro? Should I get into gaming? Should I get into AI for this personalization? And we say, well, yes. We're not saying no, but if you haven't already adapted your brand into the 3D space, you've got to start there. And 3D or embodied maybe is even a better word, because if you're going to be in the AI, if you're gonna be in the virtual worlds, the metaverse space, the spatial computing space, you're not in unless you have 3D representations of your brand at the ready, and that could mean everything from assets to experiences to actual ways you can engage with the brand in a 3D way, right? So you got to kind of set the roadmap to be into 3D. Then you think about you're going to have to inject AI capabilities inside of these experiences. So is your brand ready? Can you talk to your brand yet? Can you actually have a conversation with your brand, or engage in your brand in that way? Because when you're in these virtual spaces, NPCs for the brand are incredibly important to get your brand message across. So we're kind of like coaching with brands to make their brand like in an embodied state, in a more physical digital hybrid state, and then start to find the best opportunities you've got, because you've transitioned to 3D of where you can actually bring your brand. So I'm really excited to see brands that move into this space, and then take that and spread it across all their marketing. I think ephemeral, high-end ephemeral experiences we talked about earlier, the things you can do with Unreal Engine right now, and put Unreal Engine in the cloud, and really let the AI and the data you're able to embed into that, and then the data, or personalization people bring to those experiences, let them create something in that world, in this like really highly photoreal, real-time rendered space. I'm excited for that too.
Oh yeah, and you may have seen, but I think 2 days ago, there's a developer that got UE5 running using web GPU. So we'll now be close to not even needing necessarily to run these in the cloud. They can just be run on our own computers. And so yes, that's very exciting for me too. And of course, that's a great way to end, because we with the Emergence SDK, we have an SDK built for Unreal and for Unity that allows developers to integrate Web3 assets, so that users playing games or experiences developed in these engines, they can just scan their wallet in, and then they open up their account and have all their assets ready to bring in world, like avatars or in-game objects or soundtracks. So that's just my little plug. But Keith, BeskARx, fantastic speaking with you as always. And yeah, really enjoyed this chat, and appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your week. And thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
All right, take care.